Welcome back to another episode of Happier Hour. I'm your host, Grayson Hosell. We're going to dive right into it, folks. We're doing another Sips and Situationships today. I got myself some Sprinters, compliments of Kylie Jenner, I believe. One of them. I don't know who. They're mighty tasty little vodka sodies to get the blood pumping. This is my second one now. I recently had a conversation with my sister, and she said that this podcast is directionless. She said, I don't have a thing yet. There's no thing. And I was like, what are you talking about? I just talk about myself. And she's like, you think people are going to want to listen to you talk about yourself in the long run? And I completely understand. I was like, well, what about the Sips and Situationship? And she's like, you do that once a month. And I was like, you know what? You are absolutely correct. So I'm in a period of finding myself. I'm in a period of establishing myself. And what better time than Katy Perry going to space? Holding up a flower. Holding up a flower to the camera. I love astrophysics and discovering everything about math and all that it has to offer. Why the hell did Katy Perry go to space? Because she wanted to? Can I do that? Just kidding, I don't want to. I'm happy staying here on the earth. All right. Obviously my bell has been rung a little bit by that conversation with my sister. Now I feel like I have to step it up a notch. That's why I've already started drinking as of an hour ago, because I'm like, all right, I got to get started. I got to go fast immediately. I'm holding on to the microphone right now. That's a change. It might be turned up a little bit. I don't know. I don't know how this is going to turn out. I'm in a period of self-discovery. I went to the gym twice today. You're like, wow, his cheekbones are a little more defined than they were last video. Yeah, that's because I went to the gym twice today. I ran a mile in under 8 minutes. Suck on that. I did a workout over my lunch, my little lunch break from 12 to 1. Got a decent little pump in. And now I'm going to give hopeless romantics dating advice. I ran a mile to work off all the vodka sodies that I'm about to have. Compliments of Kylie Jenner? I'm basically 1 degree of separation from Kylie Jenner. The only separation between me and Kylie Jenner is this glass and little ice cubes. I'm basically Timothy Chalamet. Except I can't act, I can't sing, I can't dance. I didn't go to NYU. Speaking of New York, I can't find a goddamn apartment. I keep getting scammed left and right. They're like, yeah, before you can come and view this apartment, you have to pay us an egregious amount of money. All of these wire transfers are going to the same exact location. Something's not adding up. Am I ever going to find a place to live in New York? One would hope so. One would hope and dream so. I keep reaching out to my friends. I feel like that scene from SpongeBob where Squidward, tentacles, maybe you've heard of him. He's sitting in a box with a 5 o'clock shave, 5 o'clock shadow, and he's saying, spare change, sir. That's me looking for roommates. I inquired about 25 apartments on Sunday. 25. Do any of them have in-unit laundry? No, I can't afford that. Me and my shekels? We can't afford that. My friend who just moved to New York was like, spend a little extra money on the apartment. It's an investment in yourself. Dog. I want to die. I can't. Pinkies up, because if I'm gonna cosplay being rich and spend an egregious amount of money on an apartment, maybe I should move to the Midwest. Maybe I should move to Illinois or Ohio. Just kidding. I'm gambling on myself. I'm gambling on the fact that if I move to New York, it's going to work out in my favor because I'm selfish. This subject line says, to the poo-poo prince. I'm assuming that's myself. For those of you who know, I have egregious IBS. I have diarrhea in my past. I have diarrhea in my present. That's why it's a gift. That's why they call it a present. I've got diarrhea on my horizon in the future with just about everything. To the poo-poo prince, I just wanted to take a moment to reach out and say how much I enjoyed your podcast. It's been a great source of bedtime yapper content for me. Thank you so much. I don't drink, so I have no idea what constitutes a healthy relationship with alcohol. Sweetheart, you're not looking at a healthy relationship with alcohol. Given my history, nevertheless, counted. 1. You don't drink, maybe today's the day. Maybe take a shot every time I say nevertheless. That's 2. You're going to be on your ass in no time. Let's go to breakup advice. That's what I'm in the mood for. Breakup advice. Oh, this is offering me breakup advice. Okay. Have I ever been broken up with? No. Kind of. Let me get there. Are you the one that usually ends things? Typically, yes, I am. In both previous relationships, if it hasn't been mutual, it's been me initiating. I think in my 2 relationships previous, both of them, I was the one that initiated things, and ultimately I was the one that did well, maybe we should break up. If you ain't first, you last, okay? Be like Ricky Bobby. If you're going to end a relationship, end it before they can. I don't want to be a loser. I can't lose. I need to win. I need to win that race to the finish line. The finish line being us not working out. Another one. Breakup advice for a first love. Worst heartbreak for real. Context. My ex and I were together for almost 3 years. That's your husband or your wife or your partner. Whatever you may believe in. Okay. Best friends for more. Oh, wow. This is very sad. I am so sorry that I am putting a light to this. We were serious to the point where we were already considering marriage. Everybody does that. But since we're both of different nationalities, we knew it would take some time before it could happen. All went great until we started LDR. I don't know what that is. Long distance relationship. Ooh, look at me picking up on all the slang. Towards the end, things got rocky, aka Balboa. They didn't have that. I added that in. That's called what we like to call a little improv. Okay? Keep up. And not meeting each other's needs, which is a fair reason to break up. 100%. I've been in a long distance relationship. I've dabbled with a little LDR myself. Did it ever work out in my favor? No. No. No, it did not. One thing that still bothered me to this day is that I can't seem to get over the fact that my ex somehow wanted to explore himself and try out new things. Okay? I told him that he could and I didn't mind at all, but I suppose that he meant that in a way that he needed to end things with me to find true happiness. Oh, you were the thing that he needed to no longer explore is what you're saying. Oh, I apologize. Miso's making an appearance. I suppose this is the case due to the fact that we're from different cultures and religions, so there are things that he's suppressing for wanting to be with me. I totally understand that you should always prioritize yourself, but I feel betrayed in a way. Why did he choose to be with me in the first place if he wanted to try out new things? Well, this is going to sound harsh, and I don't mean it to sound that way, because honestly, I think it just sounds like things didn't work out between y'all, but potentially, and this is maybe a different angle to look at it, maybe you were initially the new things that he wanted to try. If he's from a different culture, different background, different religion, race, ethnicity, whatever, lives in a different neighborhood, maybe he wanted to date, maybe he wanted to experience your culture for a while, and then eventually maybe not to say it's a good thing, maybe he got bored, maybe he found that it wasn't for himself, maybe his way of exploring new cultures was like dating somebody from a different one rather than your different one, if that makes sense. And I'm not saying that's fair, I'm not saying it's valid. Obviously both your guys' feelings are valid in this situation, but like potentially maybe that's what it was. And I hate to say it, I know that there are some people out there that like they have fetishes they've got like cultural fetishes. I know there's like this thing where like um I forget, there's like some study or something that like certain races and religions uh, date out of their culture of like of a common nationality or something like that because it's like a fetish or something like. And I'm not saying that's the case here. Obviously, I don't have enough background to know if that's actually the case. Sounds like you guys were together for 3 years. That's your partner. That's your ragtime gal. That's your ragtime boy. Um, so you know, and to end the email, you say he was my first true love and he's my end game, or thought he was your end game, but oh well, here I am. Some days are easier to get by, but most days are tough. It's going to be tough for a long time, but that doesn't mean they're bad. Sometimes the toughest days are just all the more reason and proof that the time that you guys spent together was all that special. Like the tougher the day just means the time that you guys had together was incredible. I mean, if the breakup didn't hurt, that would just show that your 3 year relationship wasn't worth anything. You know, I mean, it's one thing if you get cheated on. It's one thing if he does you dirty. But it sounds like he just maybe you guys just maybe grew apart. Maybe the distance thing was kind of like the deciding factor that like, maybe things weren't working out beforehand, and then that was just kind of an excuse to initiate the breakup. Potentially, I'm not saying that's the case. I don't think you should feel betrayed. I think some people just learn to grow apart. Some people experience different things, want to experience different things, and unfortunately, part of being an adult is having to accept that, and it's a bummer. It sounds like you guys were great together. I mean, you were together for 3 years. If you think about it, that's a hefty percentage of your life, depending on how old you are, unless you're like 900 years old, you know, and that can be tough to get over. But I don't think if you're having a tough time with the breakup, I wouldn't look at it as a negative. I would embrace it and say, you know what? The reason why I'm struggling so hard to get over this person is because the time we spent together was so amazing and so great. But I would also use that as leverage to lean into maybe exploring things with other people, you know? Maybe say if I had these experiences and these feelings with somebody that didn't want me, imagine how much better those experiences could be in the future with somebody that does. I guess maybe try and spin it that way. That might be helpful. That might be helpful. I don't know. That's what I would say. Life/dating advice. Here we go. Been a passive follower forever. I actually don't follow you. Okay. Well, hey, it happens. I'm not mad or upset at all. I'm not gonna try and figure out what your handle is and figure out, stalk you on the internets. I'm not seeing any question marks in here. Oh, it's dating advice for me. Okay. One thing that really stood out to me was how people that reached out to you felt like they were running out of time to get into relationships, have their first, etc. In my opinion, the internet plays a big part in this sense of urgency for most of us that are in our 20s. We're bombarded daily with these successful people, then we beat ourselves up because we can't beat like them. That's mostly the internet. Comparison's the thief of joy, and I do this to myself all the time. I see people, friends that I have that are more successful than me, and I'm just like, what the hell? Why do I suck? Can't do that. Can't You have to be, happy and appreciative of them and what they've been able to accomplish, but you can't apply that same situation to your life. It's not how it works. Here we go. More dating advice. This is just a dating question. Would you date a Hispanic woman? Absolutely. I will say I typically tend to, as far as like physical traits go in a woman, typically dark hair, like black, like jet black hair, little patchwork tattoos are typically my physical type. But as far as like ethnicities, nationalities, I have no preference. It doesn't matter to me. I've been on dates with women that have been different ethnicities. I have no physical preference in that sense. I will say and acknowledge that like sometimes different ethnicities and backgrounds tend to like, play into like an experience when it comes to relationship. Like I don't know how to date, potentially somebody who's from a certain ethnicity that I haven't been around a ton, or somebody whose ethnicity I can't relate to. There can be difficulty there, sure, but like I don't think that's means to stop exploring and dating like a certain culture. I think it should be more based on, if you like the person and you have feelings for them, who cares what their ethnicity and nationality? Love transcends all boundaries. There you go. There's your little tidbit for the day. Looking for advice or thoughts. Not a Q&A topic, so feel free to skip. No, it's too late. I'm already stuck. I've been single for almost 5 years. Nothing is stuck. I've tried everywhere. I've lived 7 places in the last 5 years. Wow, we have a nomad on our hands. Have put myself out there, apps, set up with friends, whatever. I'm so tired of hearing, once you stop looking, it will find you. Hey, me too, sister. Let me tell you. It's starting to weigh on my self-confidence. I think I'm bearable to be around and not particularly heinous looking, but I have enough horror stories to last a lifetime. You're not exaggerating. I fear if I keep going down this path, I'm literally going to give up. Any motivational advice, how to boost confidence or just reassurance in general? I don't know. I'm kind of going through the same thing. If it makes you feel any better, a lot of people are going through the same thing. I've been single now for 3 years, which is, less than you, of course. But I too have bounced around. I've had my fair share of like going on, endless dates. I've had my fair share of not making it to the second date for a lot of people. I've had my fair share of like, am I the problem? Yes. Typically the answer for me is like, I am the problem. Not saying you are also the problem, but it might just be a good time to like take a step back and like, if dating hasn't worked for 5 years, maybe give yourself a year. Maybe focus on yourself for a year, and I'm not trying to like give you the once you stop looking, it will find you, but like genuinely take some time off. Stop looking. If you haven't been able to find it after 5 years, give it a rest for a little while. Give yourself 6 months. Give yourself 6 months to pick up a new hobby. Give yourself 6 months to reevaluate your life. What are your goals? What are your end game? How does it involve dating? Why does it involve dating? Does it have to involve dating? Can you work around that? Can you work around being single? Can you incorporate being single into your activities and hobbies and daily life in a way that's healthy? Miso is joining the party here. She's going to sit on my lap, of course. All right, Miso, you got to hang on, okay? Miso, there you go. All right. Sorry about that, folks. We have technical difficulties because Miso is wanting to join the party. I'll try and lean back, and I'm not gonna be able to lift her up, but nevertheless, there's 3. So yeah, I my way of my guidance, my shaman, uh, my shaman, what I'm gonna tell you, what you should do. Take some time off. Focus on yourself. Focus on things that matter to you, that aren't dating and finding love and doing all these things that are gonna hopefully find a partner. You don't need to find a partner right now. Find somebody else. Find yourself. Find friends. Find a way to fill your time. Think about, rather than going on a first date with somebody, go on a first date with yourself if that's not something you've done. You know, like I said, pick up a new hobby, find things that you never found interesting and find a reason to find them interesting, if that makes sense. Start doing something else. Go to the movies by yourself. Read a different kind of book that you never thought. Rediscover yourself. Work to accomplish different things about yourself that you never thought were important, or maybe work on self disciplines. Maybe you've got some vices somewhere. Maybe you've been wanting to do these things for a while, or travel or whatever, and you've always had the excuse that like, I just don't have the time. Spend the time that you would typically finding, love, going on dates, whatever, dating apps, whatever, and then use that time elsewhere in a healthier respect, in a way that's going to still value your time, but it's going to give you something else to focus on, is the advice I would give you. This one, tagline, just soulmate. Question: do you ever think that? Oh, I have done this one before. Whoops. Oh no. Have I done all of these? No, there's no way. All right. Question for the pod. Oh, this is the person that leaves the comment on every single YouTube video about whether or not I've gotten a wedgie. Interesting that your tag on this email It's different than the name you present online. Very interesting. What are you trying to hide? What are you trying to hide? I'm getting a call. Oop, from my mom. Wait. I'm gonna have my mom on the pod. Uh, hang on 1 second. I'm gonna have my mom on the podcast.
Hey, ready?
Hey, what's up, big dog? Hey, did you quick thing? You're on the podcast. Is that okay?
No, no,
No?
it's not okay.
Oh, okay. Well, can I call you back after I'm done recording?
What did somebody say to you on the podcast the other day or on that show that you were on?
Oh, it was a lot of sexual harassment. Yeah.
Yeah, that's just rude.
Mom, it was part of their thing. How about this? So for this episode of the podcast, Mom, where I'm giving out dating advice. Do you have any dating advice? You've been married for 500 years. Do you have any dating advice or anything for people that are listening?
Um, Make sure that you pick someone that you really like first.
Okay, you heard it here. We just got confirmation of word from Confucius herself. She said, "Pick somebody you like." How about that? What about for me? Do you have any like personal advice for me? Anything you want me to think about when it comes to dating? Because you know me and my successful dating history and how it's gone and how much you love every girl that I bring around. What about for me? Anything in particular?
Just find a girl that doesn't have any hangups.
What's wrong with hangups? That's very rude, Mom. That's very rude.
Okay. Okay, I'm gonna go now.
Okay.
I'll talk to you later.
All right, sounds good. Love you.
Love you. Bye.
Bye. You heard it here first, folks. No hangups. Personally, hey, there's nothing wrong with hangups, okay? There's nothing if you've got some red flags, nothing wrong with red flags. I'm not going to if you have a red flag, there's nothing wrong with that. Okay? If you got a couple of habits, a couple of bad habits, a couple of vices, you're looking at the king of red flags, you're looking at the king of habits. There's nothing wrong with that. Don't let my mother's advice ruin your outlook on dating. Okay. What does she know? She's been married for 50 years. What does she know about dating? Pick somebody you like. Oh, that's weird. I've been going on dates with people I hate. Anyways, anyways, she's gonna be so mad when this one comes out. Uh, Here we go. So this is a dating question slash bad story looped into one. Love you, Mom. If you listen to the podcast, though, I'm pretty sure you don't, or maybe you do. You're a silent listener. Funny that you've never asked me any questions on my email. Hello there. Let me just jump right into it. I knew this guy who was my friend for almost 2 years. We went to the same school. As a hopeless romantic, I've always wanted to have a high school sweetheart who would maybe turn out to be the love of my life or whatever. Well, the man wanted to be with me for a long time, so I gave him a chance. It was supposed to be what you would call a serious situationship. Dog, that's not a thing. That is not a thing. Maybe a relationship. Did they ask you to be there to be your girlfriend? If not, it's not a relationship. Sorry, man. But as the year ended and we went into the holiday break, gotta be British. Oh no, we have holidays in America. He stopped talking to me, blocked me, act like nothing happened, and started dating another girl with promise rings and everything. I felt stupid. Wow. Then we got back from the break. He had broken up with the girl, came back, and acted like nothing happened. I hate him to this day. He still wants to be my friend. Question that they have proposed to me. Oh, they're from Brazil. Howdy from America. Question is, from a guy's perspective, do you think I'm at fault for never wanting to speak to him ever again? No. I think your feelings are completely valid. If anybody has ever belittled you and made you feel small for any sort of reason, and you find it appropriate that you never want to speak to them again, I totally understand. There's some people that can only tolerate a certain amount of disrespect. There's only some people that can tolerate a certain amount of, um, you know, not feeling wanted before they never want to speak to somebody again, and I completely get it. It's everybody's cup of tea. I know you're from Brazil. I don't know if they have tea in Brazil. I know it's more like an EU thing, but you know, it's whatever you're comfortable with. If you don't want to speak to them again right now, who knows? Maybe this person comes around in a couple of years from now. Maybe they are your soulmate, your sweetheart, your high school sweetheart. Um, and then you don't feel comfortable talking to them right now, and then a couple of years down the road, they find their way back to you. Maybe that's what happens. But like, if you don't feel comfortable, if you don't want to talk to them right now, you don't have to. You don't have to give somebody the light of day that made you feel unwanted, somebody that disrespected you, somebody that didn't value your time, somebody that didn't value your boundaries. It's completely understandable that you don't want to talk to them. That's a good one. Um, you know, not everybody has not everybody has the capacity for forgiveness. Well, that's a bad way to put it. Not everybody is willing to forgive somebody that has faulted them, somebody that has done them wrong, right? For lack of a better term. So, like, if that's the case, if you feel as though you were disrespected to a certain degree that you don't want to consider this person a part of your life anymore, then go for it. That doesn't mean that like things in the future aren't going to work themselves out. I'm very much a believer in this like invisible string theory, or like a red string theory. I think is like an Asian folklore or something like that, where it's like, you are connected to your soulmate. If this is your soulmate and you are connected to them and you don't want to talk to them right now, years from now, maybe you find your ways back to each other. Maybe that's the case. You know, there's nothing wrong with that. Here we go. Dating advice. Am I allowed to be into someone who might be into me, but everyone knows another girl's down bad for him? Makes me feel like a homewrecker. If they're not in a relationship, dog, you don't owe that person a thing. Okay? And I'll tell you what. I'm assuming this person's young, because this to me seems like a young thing to say. Um, if you like somebody and they like you back, go for it. Okay? If this person is your friend, um, that is also down bad for him, I get it. But just because nobody is owed anything, right? Nobody has, there's no such thing as dibs in nature, okay? You don't get to say dibs on this person that doesn't want you. That's like me saying dibs on, Casey Musgraves or Claro. I have no stake in the game. I have absolutely no stake in the game. They don't want me. They don't know I exist. What business do I have calling dibs on them, you know? So if this person, whoever it is, likes you and you like them back, just because some other, person is like, well, I'm down bad for him. Who cares? You're going to have to break a few eggs to make an omelet. And you might have to home wreck, you might have to ruin somebody else's life in order to be with the person that's meant to be with you. Let's go into a bad dating story. Here we go. I've got a bad dating story and I'll keep it short. Seemed normal. A few weeks, he invited me back to his apartment. I agreed. A few weeks in of dating, that makes sense. He invited me back into his apartment. I agreed. I walked one step into his bedroom, not a studio apartment, and he has with no roommates. Bed was in the middle of the living room. I asked why. No, he bed was in the middle of the living room. Okay. I asked why it wasn't in the bedroom. He evaded the question. Should I have turned around? Yes. Did I? No. Mistakes were made. What is that? I have a vivid imagination, folks, but to some degree, when I say like keep a dating story short, I still want the juicy details. That's what the viewers want. That's what we both want. We're clawing at the juicy details, right? So now I have to paint a vivid picture of, did you guys play Twister? Maybe. Did you guys build an awesome fort in the middle of the living room? Maybe. What was his bedroom used for? Ooh, here we go. Miso, what should we come up with? Miso is currently laying down. She's right here. She's laying on my lap and on my laptop. Funny enough. What did he use his bedroom for? All right, so his bedroom was, he's training to become an American Ninja Warrior, but not conventional. Right now, I'm not talking Mount Midoriyama. And for the viewers that I've already lost starting off with this story, Mount Midoriyama is essentially like the final stage for American Ninja Warrior. It's a very difficult, like, parkour course that is very popular in Asian countries, I believe, or at least that's where it originally came from. And then they brought it to America. It's a big thing. My dad used to watch it for like hours on edge. He would just be like in a recliner watching these like nimble people just like run through this obstacle course. So maybe he's training for that. Maybe that's what's set up in his room. Did you go in there? Did you see what was in there? Maybe he's like Dexter and it's a splatter room and he was originally going to take you in there, but then you asked too many questions and he got scared. Maybe that's the case. Maybe he's breeding Clydesdale horses in his room. Maybe that's the case. Maybe that's what happened. Maybe he was just scared. Maybe his bedroom was messy. Maybe he just wanted to see like how like chill you were. Just walking in bed in the middle of the living room. Maybe he did have roommates and somebody was occupying the bedroom. Maybe it's one of those situations. Who knows? Another dating story. This seems like a good place to share my terrible dating life so not only my friends can enjoy it. For context, I am French studying in Sweden. Wow. That's Sweden is a very blonde country. I was here first on an exchange, then decided to come back to do my master's degree. Awesome. In November, I went on a few dates with a cute guy who then stated he couldn't date me because I was not speaking Swedish. Fair, I guess. I don't know. You could always learn a language. Sounds like he was a lazy guy. We still continued to hook. Okay. We still continued to hook up. And one morning when he was on his phone, I saw on his Snapchat the name of the guy I was in a traumatic situationship with during my exchange. Oh, buddies with your not so much friend. I popped another one. I don't know if you guys could hear me so freaked out for a second there. Mango. I hate mango. I hate mango flavored things. Also, pink lemonade is a flavor. Come on. What is pink? Lemonade itself is not a great flavor for a vodka soda. Let me just say that. Okay. But now you want to throw pink into the mix? What artificial flavor is pink? We've heard of Red Dye 40 chamoy pickle kits, but like what is pink? What kind of GMOs are in pink? Just the word pink. I don't know. I'm drinking it because I'm an idiot with a history. It turned out they were childhood friends. Wow, small world. Very small world. When I brought it up, he told me they actually realized it the night before when we were at the bar. Safe to say, I didn't tell him his friend drunk texted me a few weeks before asking for intimate pictures. You guys can fill in the blanks because I also learned during the conversation he was dating a girl at that time. So it sounds like this guy was actually just the worst. It sounds like he was manipulative. It sounds like he, you know, it honestly, what it sounded like was, you know, his buddy, his buddy that you were in a traumatic situationship drank some of the Kool-Aid being was involved in your life, for lack of a better term. You know, we like to play around with metaphors here. We get creative. And he knew that. Every guy, the thing is like guys don't know how to like not brag about things. So probably the bane of your existence, the traumatic situationship, probably showed this guy who you were. And then this other guy was like, "Well, I'm gonna try my luck. I find her attractive." And so maybe that was the case. And this guy was just awful. This guy just sucks. Both these guys suck, right? Um, but I'm glad you made the good choice of um, not doing anything crazy with this guy. Sounds like they're both kind of you know not the cream of the crop, and I'm glad you made the good decision of um, uh, not doing anything crazy. I'm trying to compromise your morals, is what I was trying to say. Sometimes, hey, when the sprinters are flowing, the words do not. Keep going. Here we go. Please help. I'm going insane. Hell yeah. How do I get over this guy I've been in love with for years? get with their best friend. I don't know. I don't know. That's not good advice. Also, please don't say my name. What if I want to? Just kidding. I would never do that. Okay, my mom and her best friend became pregnant. Okay, that's a weird thing to do. 19 years ago, resulting in me and the boy. We grew up seeing each other probably 3 times a week. Oh, this is kind of cute. It's a fun little story. We've gone on vacations together. We've known each other since birth, and of course, when we were little. Everyone asked slash talked about how we were so cute and destined for marriage. You can't force this kind of thing. You can't. Just your typical middle-aged woman stuff. Here's the bad news. I've been in love with him since freshman year. I know that sounds corny and dumb, but he's been my best friend forever, and there's you're literally living like a young adult TV show. Like, you have to watch this guy, maybe get with other women. You're deeply in love with this guy, and you have to be like this. The problem is, and I've actually given this advice to friends in the past, like, some guys are stupid, believe it or not. Some guys are dumb in the sense that, like, they don't understand what they have in front of them, and they use you. They don't realize that they're using you as like an emotional and mental, like, resource, in the sense that, like, when they want to get physically intimate with somebody, they do. That's not you. And then they go back to you at the end of the day, and they tell you what's wrong. They want to talk to you about certain things because they don't realize that they find comfort and joy in your mental and emotional space. Let's continue. We've been best friends forever, and the only boy I've ever been emotionally vulnerable with. There you go. He knows everything about me, of course. I know everything about him, of course. He uses you as this, like, mental and emotional, like, resource where he can be like, whenever he's down, instead of talking to the girl that he's actually talking to or, like, physically into, he goes back to you. It's because he's comfortable with you, and he doesn't realize that, like, that comfort not being a bad thing. That comfort is, like, that comes from a place of, like, love, deep-seated love, and he doesn't realize it. He knows everything about me, and I know everything about him. Despite the fact that we are both pretty private people, he's funny, gorgeous, literally brings such laughter and warmth and light into any room he's in. Jeez, you are in love with this guy. Holy cow. Here's the other bad news. I can't just stop being friends with him. I just can't. I'd rather silently suffer. Oh my god. This has young adult novel written all over it. Than possibly get over him completely out of my life. I also can't admit my feelings. Here we go. Because I'm like 70% sure he doesn't return them. Sounds like there's a chance. 70-30. I don't know. You can balance that equation. Shout out to chemistry. Shout out to stoichiometry. Sure, he doesn't return them. Pretty sure he doesn't return the feelings in the same way, and I seriously cannot lose this friendship. I think I'm a beautiful girl, but I'm mostly not his type. Everyone still talks about how our chemistry is amazing and how cute we are, and I'm starting to go insane. Please help me. How do I get over this guy when I see him all the time? My dog. I'm going to tell you right now. Okay? Sometimes in life, you have to take a leap of faith. And I get it. It's terrifying. It's scary. What if this guy, he doesn't reciprocate those feelings? I hate to tell you this. Genuinely hate to tell you this. The thought, the burden of not knowing, the burden of never bearing your emotions and bearing your feelings just out and about, just being so upfront with somebody that you're already so comfortable with. Honestly, that might be part of it. That might be part of it, in the sense that the reason why you feel this way about him is because you can't tell him. And maybe when you tell him, you might realize, oh my God, it was just the not knowing. Like, maybe all you need is a little bit of reassurance that, like, he doesn't like you. Because it sounds like you still have hope. There's 30%, right? You said 70% he doesn't reciprocate these feelings, and that's totally fine. If he does, if he doesn't, you're never going to know. Okay? Obviously, there's a lot of outside forces putting pressure on you. Shout out to Miso, who just got up. There's a lot of outside forces. You've got people telling you guys that you're perfect together. Maybe you are, maybe you aren't. Maybe that's preventing him maybe you not opening up to him about your feelings is like he has a little bit of reserve as well. I don't know. Just because you're not his type doesn't mean you're not his type, if that makes sense. You know, you guys obviously have this emotional mental connection. You guys obviously have this history since you were your mom and his mom, decided to get knocked up at the same time, you know? Maybe that's just maybe you just need a little leap of faith. And yeah, you might not like the results, but God, the results, you don't have this 70-30% equation going on. You have 100% or nothing. Sometimes nothing is better than something. Sometimes nothing is better than maybe, and sometimes definitely is better than maybe. It just having the maybe is not ever going to make you feel good enough, no matter what. You need an answer. You need results, right? So that's what I would suggest. A little leap of faith. Go for it. If he doesn't reciprocate, he wasn't the one, and that's okay. Just because you feel this way doesn't mean it's you guys can't go back to being friends. Maybe you just need that reassurance that like it's never gonna work. And yeah, it sucks, but at the end of the day, you still have a friend. I don't know. Here we go. High school dating advice. Shout out to me being 25 giving high school dating advice. Hey Gray, what's up? So at the start, initiate cool older brother personality. Get nice and close. I don't want to get close for that. I got a lot of fresh pimples on my face. I found myself sitting next to the person who is now my crush. We'll call him, I don't even know how to pronounce that. Through school, I started to notice him flirting with me, and that made me freak out. This sounds like a high school thing. Sounds like a high school fling. Because last year, I was new to the school, and another one of my classmates asked me out after like 2 to 3 months of me being there, and I had to reject him because we'd start talking only a few days earlier. Because we started talking only a few days earlier. Sorry, the sprinters. I just fit 10 cows in a sprint. They're getting to me, maybe a little bit. For the audio only listeners, I'm chewing on the can. I'm gnawing at the bars of my enclosure. I had to reject this person because we started talking only a few days earlier, and I really just saw him as a friend, but I felt so bad because he wasn't a bad person. Didn't want to hurt him, just wasn't my type. But back to the guy I actually have a crush on. What happened then is still so weird to me. I didn't feel that way for him, but I also felt like he would have deserved to have a chance with me if he asked, so I don't know. Guess time did its magic, and I've convinced myself he wasn't so bad, and he became my crush. I started to show him that I liked him too, and it was nice while it lasted, because then our teachers changed the seat. Here's the thing about teachers, and I know this. I know this because my best friend growing up, his mom was a teacher, and she would do this too. Teachers do this. They do seating arrangements. They are teachers in high school and elementary school. They are like Cupid in the sense that their form of like a little love arrow that they shoot is a seating arrangement. They set that bitch up so like people fall in. They play little matchmakers while they're also handing out F's on a test because I didn't do my times table well enough. They're playing matchmaker. Teachers changed the seat assignment in class, and we drifted apart. Okay. So this teacher did not want you guys to end up together. And I hate to tell you this, but it was intentional. And or you guys were a nuisance to the class and you guys were annoying everybody. I mean, I still feel that we like each other, but I don't know what to do now. He hasn't asked me out, and I kind of want to see how it could go, but I'm scared to. I'm sort of planning on telling him the last day of school. Don't do that. Just tell him beforehand, so we can have the summer to be together, and I really don't know what would be best. What should I do? Love from Italy. International girl. All right, here's the thing. don't ask him out the last day before summer, because then you're gonna go your entire summer not enjoying it because you decided to ruin it right as it started or right before it was gonna start. Ask him out before then. Um, it, I'll say this: it seems like you just got to take another leap of faith. Half my listeners, half the people that submit questions, take a little leap of faith, a little confidence juice. Get yourself out there. Huh? What about that? Get yourself out there. Here we go. This is a long one. I might end on this because it's wow. Actually, no, I still got a lot of time. Here we go. Situationship and the best boinking of my life. Help. Here we go. Sounds like this is a bit of a hybrid. Bit of a hybrid where we got bad dating story, potentially good dating story with the best boinking of your life, and you need some advice. Hope you're well. Not sure if this is how Americans do it, but this is very European and very corporate way of saying hello. So here I am, 3 a.m., sipping on an Aperol. All right, wondering how the hell I ended up here after a stable 5-year relationship. That's your husband. That's your husband or your wife or your partner. Miso just dropped a dookie and I can smell it. She's speaking of gnawing at the bars of her enclosure. She is scratching on her little poop hut, her little whatever it's called, her outhouse, her litter box, for lack of a better term. I've been watching your Instagram for a while, and honestly, I keep thinking there's no way you haven't been engineered by a woman. Well, technically, I did pop out of my mother's birthing canal, so I was in some way, shape, or another engineered by a woman. I came from a woman. I'm still new here, so I'm not sure if your sister consider me deeply impressed and slightly in lust. All right. Well, don't do that. You don't need to be in lust with me. All right. There's nothing special about this guy. I'm just giving out dating advice to high schoolers. Anyway, here's the deal. About a month after my long-term relationship ended, long-term being 5-year, okay, that's more than a presidency. I know you might not be. It sounds like you're a European. I don't know what you guys have that last 5 years over there. I guess technically relationships. Holy cow. That's a soul tie at that point. Anyways, dove into a physical connection with somebody new, aka a rebound. I've been a rebound. I've recently been a rebound, and that's totally okay. It's been insanely good. Rebound. It's mind altering good. All right. Okay. And I feel terrible about it. Why? Partly because my previous relationship was genuinely beautiful, aka after this podcast comes out, you're going to get back together with them. We had great boinking. We lived together. Holy, oh my God. He was open-minded and warm. We built a whole life side by side, aka you're going to get back together after this comes out. It was a slow drift. No more boinking, no shared meals, no going out, aka you've been married for quite some time now, and I feel like that's what everybody says. We quietly turned into roommates who were scared to admit we were just friends. Okay. Eventually it became too heavy to ignore. We had to talk. I bought an apartment and moved out. The plot twist: I started talking to my mortgage broker, the guy who helped me get the credit for the apartment. We had this insane spark from the beginning. There's a power dynamic here, and I don't like it. Okay? He helped you get something you wanted, and in return, he got something he wanted, which was you. And I don't like that. That sounds scary to me. One night we went to a party near my place. We texted, but a little more lustrous, nonstop until I basically couldn't take it anymore. Oh my God. What am I reading up? What are those novels called where it's just 50 Shades of Grey? Now, don't get me wrong. Boinking itself has been easy for me. Okay, quit bragging. Building tension, reading what somebody wants, leaning into desire. Dude, you should write one of those books. I feel like I am reading 50 Shades of Grey right now, but making myself this available to someone, that's new. And sure, building the tension online is one thing, but when I open the door, all my fears of a weird, disappointing encounter just disappear. We clicked instantly. He was attentive, present, curious about what I liked. He took a shower Okay. He noticed when I started to disassociate. What? Dominant? Oh my god, this is like oh, smut book. They put it in the they put it in the email. Um it felt like a real life version of a smut book. So here I am, ashamed that somebody physically made you feel good about yourself. Come on. What is this? Catholic guilt? That I had this kind of experience so close to a breakup. This honestly sounds like a rebound. Honestly. Ashamed because I know rationally that this probably won't turn into something serious as it started with boinking, and I've watched enough of your content to know how that story ends. Whoa, hold on, wait. Is that a shot at me? Am I the permanent rebound? Is that my role in society is to be the permanent rebound? What do you mean? What do you mean by that? Hey, wait a minute. What do you mean by that sentence? I've watched enough of your content to know how that story ends. What? Why is this? Why does this feel like a shot at me? Hmm? Why am I catching haymakers across the face while reading this? And ashamed at how hard this has hit me. So I guess my question is, how do you get over the best boinking of your life? All right, sister, big dog. Let me tell you something. All right, this is epitome of a rebound. All right, you lost your intimacy with your partner, which happens. You guys drifted apart, basically just became friends, roommates. It happens. Okay, you forgot what it was like for somebody to make you feel wanted, physically speaking, and then you get out of this relationship and you immediately find somebody who is going to show you how badly they want you. It's a rebound. Classic situation. Um, and this is tough. This is tough because you feel bad about it. I don't think you should feel bad about it. Um, just because it happened schedule wise so close to your 5 year long relationship with somebody that you probably might already be back together with. You submitted this email 6 days ago. That might have been enough time for you to rekindle things. I don't know. Um, but yeah, this is a classic rebound. I don't think rebounds are a bad thing necessarily. Sometimes they're a great reminder of like what you prefer, how you prefer a physical relationship to be, what it to look like. Maybe this is something you take forward in the sense that, like, oh, this is what I was missing out on in my 5 year relationship, and I want somebody to continuously make me feel that way well into the 5 years, well into the however long relationship. I would take this as more or less a learning opportunity. Maybe you found certain things out about yourself that you didn't know that you liked beforehand, and then this person being somebody new, somebody that was a wild card per se, maybe that's what you take forth. Maybe you know, I hate to say it because I'm a big proponent of not getting back with your ex, but it sounds like what you described, maybe the reason why you feel so bad about this is because part of you still wants that to work out. Part of you still wants that 5 year relationship to continue, and maybe you guys just kind of lost the physical spark. And it took you getting with somebody else to realize, oh, this is what I was missing out on. This is what I wanted. Maybe that's what you have to get back to. Maybe you send them a little, hey, got a sec? Text. Let's talk about where we went wrong. Let's talk about how we became friends. Let's talk about how too comfortable we got with each other. And yeah, you're gonna have to get painfully honest about, like, this is what happened. This is what I've done with my time since breaking up. But, like, I don't know. It sounded like you had a beautiful thing. And don't get me wrong, I don't know the full extent of your relationship. I only have one email's worth, but, like, God, despite the part where you guys naturally drifted apart, you had a beautiful relationship at some point. I don't know. Maybe I've seen rom coms before, and don't get me wrong, rom coms are not always a great resource, but, like, I've seen a lot of rom coms where couples naturally drift apart and then they break up, and the one thing that they needed was a reminder of what they were missing out on. and they found it through somebody else and it brought them back together. I can't name any off the top of my head, but like I know it's happened. Maybe that's what you need. Maybe that was what you needed. You needed a reminder of what you were missing out on in that relationship. I don't know. Don't get me wrong. If you're not comfortable getting back with your ex, then don't. But like, whew, man. Also, what were you doing to me in that email? Come on now. Holy cow. Holy cow. All right, one more. Here we go. This is just a okay. Wow, from the advice from needed advice from Cape Town, South Africa. This is the international episode. All right. I love the podcast. It feels like being on a video call with a slutty but good friend. All right. Well, I don't know what about me presents as slutty, but I appreciate it. Um, uh, Hooked up with a guy who I used to go to school with. I hated myself so much hated myself so much the following morning I had to sneak out while he was sleeping to go back home. Okay, it happens. This guy used to bully me. Okay. He was transphobic. For context, the person that sent this is a trans woman, most transphobic person in my class, and would go out of his way every day to make my life literal hell. Okay, sounds like this person that was making your life hell is probably closeted, or to some extent had this like attraction towards you and didn't know how to channel that other than making fun of you. Before judging me for sleeping with him, here's a backstory. When I moved back in with my parents, he had a plumbing job. So for the first week, I was seeing him almost every day, and my parents were leaving me with him for work. We soon started talking and catching up. It was like I was talking to and seeing a whole different person. The kindness, the vulnerability, and he reads. The bar is in hell. He reads. That's what's nice about him. He reads. And he read one of my favorite books by our favorite author. It wasn't very helpful. It isn't helpful that he's incredibly handsome. After sneaking out, I never called or texted. He's been trying to call me and text me, but I haven't responded. I've been avoiding him like the plague. I don't know. I feel like it's hard to get past the emotional trauma he brought me as a teenager, even though I can acknowledge that he really has changed for the better. I felt so much shame for allowing myself to do that, but at the same time, I kind of want to see him again and see where this could possibly go. Any advice? I'm allergic to cats. Well, don't go around a cat. No, I think um don't get me wrong, I do believe people can change. But at the same time, I do believe there is an extent of emotional trauma that might be too difficult to overcome. You know, if you find yourself thinking about this person without also thinking about the things that they put you through, that might be a separate conversation. You know, if you are thinking about your feelings towards them and those thoughts, those experiences that they put you through, the emotional traumatic experiences that they put you through are too much for you to overcome, then maybe it's not for the best. I completely understand if you have strong feelings for them, but at the same time, this is such a tricky situation because like emotional trauma is so um, it can feel heavy. It can be a burden that we carry throughout our entire life. But at the same time, if you've moved on past that, if you're more comfortable, more accepting, and more like forgiving at this point in your life, then maybe return those calls. Maybe see what it's all about. Maybe explore if they have changed for the better and they are not going to make you feel emotionally vulnerable about your situation, about who you are, who you've decided to become. Maybe this could be a potentially a beautiful thing. But at the same time, if that emotional trauma that they put you through, all right, let's not get it twisted. They were the one who physically and verbally made you feel a certain way about yourself through whatever various types of bullying that they did. If when you think about them, those thoughts continue to come up and continue to make you feel a certain way, then maybe it's not for the best. Um, you know, that's I guess the advice that I would give. You know, here's the thing, a general comment, just not necessarily related to this, but just in general for the listeners, emotional trauma is one thing that is hard to come back from. Being from my relationships, I to some extent had to go through emotional trauma. A lot of who we are gets broken down when we are in certain relationships. A lot of who we think we are changes, sometimes for the better, sometimes for the worse. But, like, you know, the emotional trauma that I have undergone in my life in relationships has made me realize that I need certain things, certain traits in partners. Whether that's, reassuring, whether that's, somebody who is unequivocally in love with me, stuff like that. Somebody who's going to make me feel so loved and appreciated, you know, um, somebody who's willing to be on my team, somebody who's willing to work with me in the issues that I have, you know, making me feel seen in ways that nobody has before, somebody who's going to pick up on all my antics, my bits, somebody who's going to pick up on, like, my emotional vulnerabilities, my tells of when I'm going through certain emotional, you know issues. I need stuff like that. And so, I don't know, I guess on the subject of emotional trauma, you shouldn't ignore it by any means, but at the same time, like, if you are working on yourself and you are becoming a more accepting and forgiving individual for people who have put you through traumatic experiences, then, maybe you reach back out. I guess for this particular situation, maybe reach back out. Um, but yeah, I'm at an hour now. I don't know if this episode was any. I hope, as I work through, what the purpose of this podcast is, whether it's just me yapping about whatever, whether it's me talking about news stories, Katy Perry going to space, people from all over the planet asking me dating advice, what do I do, dating stories. Um, you know, all I ask is that you have some patience with me. Continue listening if you want to, and if you don't, I completely understand. Um, but nevertheless, that's four shots. If you listened and you took a shot every time I said nevertheless, you're on your ass by now. Um, but yeah, I hope you guys appreciated this episode. I want you guys to know that regardless of whether or not you listen, whether or not you have tiffs with what I say and what I do, I want you to know that I love you. Thank you so much for listening. I would not do this without y'all. I could not do this without y'all. And I hope you know from the bottom of my heart, I appreciate everybody who listens and everybody who provides feedback. If you guys like the podcast, like, share, subscribe, leave a recommendation, leave a comment about your favorite part. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, leave a review, 5-star if you like it. Here I am begging for positivity. I just burped a little bit. Sorry for that. Um. Anyways, and with that, if you had 23 bad hours today, I hope the hour that you spent with me was a happier hour. I love you all so, so much. Good night.